And greetings, Ranger fans. So this is my first time doing a live commentary on my own work. I have never done that before. Welcome to everyone in the chat. I have the chat right over here. So welcome to Kaeda and Elliot and Buster, and I'm sure there are more of you that are still filtering in. This is exciting. By total coincidence, it's happening on the infamous November 20th, which is obviously a very important date within the world of Database Rangers Power Reviews. To those of you who are new to this channel, welcome. I hope you enjoy this commentary of a video that I did over 8 years ago now. The very first episode of Database Rangers Power Reviews, back when Saban Brands was still fresh and new, long before Hasbro was even a glimmer in the eye of the franchise. This was the origin of this channel. And welcome to Athena, as well as everyone else still coming in the chat. This is a little bit of a different setup from what we usually do for our live reactions. For our live reactions, obviously, it's me and MJ on the couch, but since we are currently expecting our first child, and they're now coming up on 9 months in another week, we're still five weeks out from our due date. We figure that I will be tackling these on my own here in DR Productions studio, which is just our second bedroom, which will eventually become a nursery, and I'll need to find a different location. Hello to Devious, hello to Jenny, hello to Scott. Great to see you all here. But yeah, it's so long ago. And I'm excited to revisit it and sort of share some of my thoughts, and to be sad over how cheap everything, I'm sure, looks then. Not that it doesn't still look cheap now, as you will see with how I'm going to be handling this live stream. It's going to be a little bit different because, as we established during the big charity live stream, where I watched all of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and Mighty Morphin Alien Rangers, we have very limited equipment. This is all being handled on a laptop. So I can't actually do a window capture or put a video in the way that I would like in Streamlabs, because this 2015 MacBook is not equipped for that. I'm sure I'm a little bit on the choppy side, hopefully not too bad, hopefully everyone can hear me clearly. But what I'm going to have to do, since I can't actually seem to nest the video in here because of our computer requirements, is I actually have, apparently, the webcam and the cam link can still function simultaneously, which is, I don't know how these things work with the computers, but I literally am going to be having a camera pointed at a TV, and I will be playing the episode on that TV that I'll be watching over here. So, of course, my, this has been a ramshackle production from the beginning. So, I think as we are now 5 minutes in, and we've got about a dozen people here, we're just getting started. We are going to kick off the first ever episode of Power Reviews. Sadly, I do not have this hardwired to the router because I just could not run the Ethernet cable far enough. Maybe next time I may need to do some adjustments. This will be a work in progress. We've got 100 weeks of this, people. Every Friday for 100 weeks, I am going to be doing commentary on Power Reviews. And by the time that I reach 100 weeks of this, the 100th episode will be out, is the plan. So my final commentary, while the final episode is planned for October 13th of 2022, the final commentary would then be October 14th of 2022. So I tried to time that as nicely as I could. So, yes, we will start now with reviewing our review. So, here we go. Getting myself into position here. Oh, look at this. Very not fancy setup. If I can get the, there we go. And here we go. I've got it. I've got the camera pointed at the TV. Let's kick this off. And yes, everyone will be at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, unless otherwise noted. I know that life will surely find a way to get in the way in the next 100 weeks. But let's take a look at the first ever episode of Database Rangers Power Reviews. A review of Power Rangers Samurai Episode 1, The Team Unites. Play.
Last time on Power Reviews. Nothing happened.
Such a wonderfully cheap gag.
And now, Database Rangers Power Reviews.
I did actually include that specifically because I knew I wanted to be recapping every time.
Greetings, Ranger fans, and welcome to
And
Power
there I
Reviews.
am
I'm your host,
with,
Database Ranger.
I
and
think
this
my
is our
hairline
first
is
episode.
approximately the same
Now,
8
to
years
give you an
later,
idea
but
of the
it's
purpose behind this
definitely
series,
thinner
I would
now
like
than
to
it was
introduce
then.
you to our scientific and technical consultant,
And
Dr.
with
K.
absolutely, boom,
Including an in-depth study of the world
there she is, the wondrous Dr. K, first ever appearance. And you can tell very much that this was sort of a rushed production because we just rushed right into, you could see us kind of glancing off to the side to read our lines, whereas later on we get much better into the memorization. But in universe it makes sense, because, oh man, and some of these lines too, it's just like,
moving
friends
on.
and family.
Power Rangers has a rich and
Database has no friends or family.
For the last 2 decades, but
I don't even know why I put that line in there other than to
we're
make
going
fun
to
of
discuss
myself.
Power Rangers on an episode-by-episode basis. If you would like a more general thematic
But yeah,
overview covering
you
various
occasionally will
seasons,
see us
I heartily
glimpsing
recommend
off to the
Linkara's
side,
History of the Power
and
Rangers.
here's my shameless plug for Linkara, with a link that is
Today,
far
we're
out
gonna
of
kick
date
things
now.
off
That
with a
is
review of
that
the
guy
series
with the
premiere of Power Rangers
glasses.com
Samurai. Now, for those of you who
back in
don't
the day.
know, Disney owned Power
Let's
Rangers
see.
for 9 years.
Vendali
The
was
actual
asking,
production of
is
the
that a
series
real
after
computer or a
the
background pic?
700th episode.
That is my
Power
actual
Rangers
computer.
are
Actually, it's literally the monitor that I'm reading the chat off of. That's my desktop right there.
This was followed by a
It's a different MacBook from the one I'm using right
of the
now.
original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers first season.
But that is my computer.
We will talk about that.
And I just put a regular screensaver of the Samurai Rangers
During the
there.
course of this unpleasantness, Heinz
And
decided
that's when the
to keep
wounds
his
of
favorite
the
franchise one
reversioning
back.
were still
And so,
just
Power
so
Rangers
so
Samurai
sharp.
was born, and we
They
fans
hurt
created
so
new
much.
episodes after more than a year-long hiatus.
But yeah,
This was the
we
first of those episodes.
we worked
The
so
Team
hard to
United.
get that Dr. K
Oddly enough, we begin with what
imitation
appears to be the team
just
already
right.
united and practicing with their shields.
Especially for the
Two
first
of the
time
boys
out.
work their forms, the girls spar, and their mentor discusses
like,
what it means
when-
to be a samurai.
when
Everything
MJ had to
going
talk
fine
about,
until, ow,
wait,
that's
we were
gotta
canceled?
hurt. Let's see that again.
There were,
Bam! Right
I think we did 18 takes of canceled,
Red approaches
because
green to
with
find
just
out
that
why his
single
arm hurts so much.
word,
Man, I bet Blue is going to get chewed out for screwing up that.
just that single word, we couldn't quite, I'm like, no, it doesn't quite sound right. I'm not hearing the accent, the weird Dr. K accent in that one word. I was relentless, and I apologize so hard for that. It was not, I was being a difficult director, I think, that night.
Perfectly, only to smack them in the face when they're not looking? What kind of villains are they facing?
Yeah.
Point made.
Just random
So they
Jungle
continue
Fury
to
gag.
Green and smack
Forgotten
him
I made
around,
that gag.
Which he takes
But yeah, this
surprisingly well,
episode was
considering
just
that
so
Blue, the
weird as
one
far as a
being
way
hailed
to
as
come
Mr. Awesome,
back
was
into the
also
show.
the one who obviously made the mistake.
Because it
After
just
a
was
while,
such
he
a
gets tired
tone
of getting
shift in
compared
so
to a guy
many
that
ways.
apparently lacks the ability to operate
But it was
well.
fascinating
And
to
leaves,
see
much to the mild concern of his
Power Rangers on the air
aggressive
again
and
after being
sensitive
off the air
teammates.
for over a year.
This segues into our opening sequence. Dude,
And
those guitar riffs,
oh man,
those chords.
we were.
They
I
really
remember
make the
being
original
so,
theme song.
like,
This is a rocking
thrilled,
way to introduce our new heroes.
Way to I was so thrilled that they used the
who are
Mighty
apparently
Morphin Power
also
Rangers
the
theme
Musketeers.
again for when it was coming back, And
That was weird.
then
Oh,
it
who cares?
just
I
never
am
went
excited.
away,
Wait,
and it got
was that-
very old
I-
very
Oh
fast.
man, it's Bulk. Bulk is back. Bulk is back. I
Uh,
don't know who that kid was, but Bulk is back. All hail,
I-
I'm Saban, savior of the universe.
I worked
don't
so
care if the
hard
Golden made no
to
sense. I don't care if we
capture
dropped
my
into a
initial
situation
impressions,
with no
even though
proper
this was
introduction to these
filmed
characters.
during Super
Power Rangers
Samurai.
are
Like,
back and I just wanna sing. Go
Samurai-
Power Rangers, Rangers together, Samurai forever.
me singing along with the theme song for the first time on YouTube.
Was that as good for you as it was for me? Anywho,
that
the
was-
next scene introduces
that was so
us
cheesy.
to our villains, the Nylocks. Their goal is to flood the earth with the waters of the sand.
But yeah, 2010 was a very dark year.
That is supposedly generated by human misery.
Yeah,
We have Octoroon, the
it's
slightly effeminate
so-
and Cthulhuid version of Vincent.
it was really interesting
There's Dai,
filming this
the
because I was
Scorpion
not only
standoff with
recapturing
mysterious
my
past.
feelings of seeing Samurai for the
And
first
last
time,
is Master Xandris.
but
Their
also I had
ill-tempered
written
and
this
intimidating
months
leader.
before I
Well,
filmed the first episode.
Intimidating to them, at least.
Um,
The latest
I was
monster
originally-
to
I
emerge
originally
from the
wrote
river
this
is
episode
Rover,
back in,
a
like,
creature with two huge
March.
fists that fly around and is infinitely
I
extending
first had the
and
idea for
normally
Power
bending arms.
Reviews
It is here that we take a quick break from the story to visit our old friend
months
Marcus
before that.
Bullfire, who apparently lost his
But
resort during the recent recession.
I,
and now spends his time hanging out with his
I've
nephews,
been checking out
playing
History
out
of the
their
Power
samurai
Rangers
fancies
and
and
Nostalgia
balls
Critic and Atop the Fourth Wall
getting
and
hit in the face with paint.
Browse Held High
It never gets old.
and all those
Unfortunately, that's the last.
all
we
those
see of Vulcan's
shows were
Mike in this first episode.
like, oh man,
Wait, you may
this could be
ask.
really interesting
Won't
to
they
try
pop
to
up
do
at
on
the
my
end for some
own.
hilarious
And
tie-in
so I
to
was
the conclusion?
brainstorming this for like
Bing!
a
Nope.
good several
That's
months
right.
before
They
I
have absolutely no
actually
bearing on the rest of
went
the
for
episode.
it.
And what about the
Um,
villains? Won't we see them at the end of the episode
And then
to see how they
this
deal
whole
with the
gag
inevitable
of me
failure of their
making
evil
text
plan?
appear is
Nope.
something that
That's right. All
you know,
we get is a stab
sort of
halfway through
vanished
the
over
episode,
time.
and that's the last
a lot of
we
the
see.
trappings of
And last
I
of all,
am
how about
editing
the
together a
biggest question
video
of the first 5 minutes?
vanished over time
Why is this episode called
as
Two
the
Unites? They're
editing
already together.
became
Is Mike's leaving the group
became something
assigned
that
the
happened
individual
in
Rangers, each
universe
trying to find their
within the
place within
camera
the team?
instead of me having to edit it
Nope.
in
Is
universe.
this the introduction of a new team attack?
So
Bing! Nope.
within the context
Is
of
this
Power
just the
Reviews,
name that Saban
yes,
came
Database
up with
Ranger
to,
is
assign to the first
filming
Power
and
Rangers
editing
episode
all of
produced in
this
over
with a
year.
camera on a tripod.
Nope. That's right.
Which
Going
is
off
really
the production
funny
numbers, this is actually
because
the third
I didn't even
episode of
have
Power
an
Rangers
actual real
For some
tripod at this
reason,
time.
Nickelodeon made the choice
All we
of
had was a
airing
Gorilla
this
Pod,
episode first.
and I had
It
borrowed
was 8 months
Dave's
and 8 days before
Dave's
showing the
camera,
actual
which I
first
still
episode,
have,
Origins
because
Part 1.
Dave is an unreasonably generous person.
Skipping the introduction episode of an action-oriented
Um,
art-based series
But
has always
because
worked
all I
so
had was a Gorilla
fast.
Pod, and this was filmed in our bedroom,
I could almost understand
I
this
actually
choice,
have,
an episode that
in this
properly
episode,
highlights the existing
when I'm filming
dynamics
it,
between the
the
Rangers,
camera was
but
attached
it's not.
to a
It's a
drawer
Green Ranger focus
on
episode.
Marissa's
Speaking of
dresser,
which,
on
let's see
MJ's
what Mike's been
dresser.
up to since running off. He's been playing video games with his
So
new
so
nameless
this was
best
just
buddy.
such a,
Reveal some
like,
disturbing information.
I pieced together just with what I had. At the time, I was still selling knives for a living.
As I
That was
mentioned
my
lately, the
job
Power Rangers were
at
my
this
role
time.
models during the majority of my childhood. Wait, what are you writing over there?
Your ongoing psychological evaluation.
I love that
Hey.
this
So,
which was
Mike
originally
checked
just sort
with
of
his
a
friends on
gag
the
that I
street,
wanted to
but
put in
they're
there.
too detached from reality to
Um,
understand he's not
Elliot was wondering, a Gorilla Pod is,
They are quickly interrupted by an attack
actually,
by Rover,
I
which
have it
has
right
his
here.
evil plan to spread misery
It's one of
throughout
these little
humanity
things.
by hugging them.
these little flexi tripods. This I had attached
Of
onto
course, Mike
the
takes
handle of a
this as his
dresser.
cue to leap into action with
And that was how I had
his
that in place.
against the world.
Um,
And he and Rover do
the
battle
lighting,
the most
we
dangerous
didn't have the
weapons in
umbrella
all
lights
the
yet,
Power
so
Rangers
I
universe.
literally had
Easy one-liners.
the flexi stand lamp in the corner of our bedroom, like with the with like 3 of the lights pointing at me from the far corner of the room, and then I had my desk lamp positioned on top of MJ's dresser with a little piece of paper over it to create a bit of diffusion. So that would be my key light, and that was my fill.
He is forced to retreat and rehydrate
but-
himself.
Yeah, it was
Now, I actually think
really
this is
funny.
a great plot point. Even
Um,
the best Power Ranger seasons have often had
This is just this
monsters that
tiny
were
corner in
spontaneously
between the door to the bedroom
recruited
and the door to the closet. Like you can see the edges of the door jambs right there.
and it ties into the motivations of our lead villains.
This whole deep dive with Jungian psychology
They want to flood the human
was
force so
really
they can live there
supposed
and
to just
escape the
be me
desolate
trying
nightmarish
to
dimension they currently find themselves
add a
in.
little bit
They're
more,
fighting for their freedom, which is a surprisingly
a little bit more depth to the analysis. I really wanted to try and add a little bit more research to how I was doing things. I was really taking my lead off of Rouse Held High in that regard, because there was always like that sense of scholarly investigation into the work. And it also just plays into me just having the running gag of over-analyzing Power Rangers to an insane degree, which I know I do as a person, but obviously I played it up a little bit more as Database. And it took a while for it to become clear to people that no, Database Ranger and I are two different people. Database Ranger is a character.
Still looking for a publisher.
And still looking for a publisher.
I digress.
That was a great running gag when that
The
kicked off.
Rangers tend to Mike's wounds and lecture him about the dangers of facing the Nilox himself.
It's really funny just how many little things, though, from that bit in particular, ended up playing more into the overall story of the show. The mind-numbing analysis of children's television, being, the book he was trying to publish, it wasn't initially written in such a way that I had in mind, episode 32, when eventually we get to see, oh, he gets a potential publishing deal, and that's our introduction to Alphabet Soup. Yeah. Spoilers, obviously. I realize I haven't warned anybody. There's going to be spoilers in these commentaries. No, the book does not actually exist in real life. Maybe I will try and write it someday. But it was something where I introduced it as a gag, and it ended up being really convenient when I needed a method to introduce these other plot elements. Same thing with the ongoing psychological evaluation. That was a gag that I'm like, oh wait, this can be used as a way to introduce this plot element of whether or not he actually is there with Dr. K. Those weird, like internal monologues were so bizarre.
The next day,
and yeah, this thing's all about teamwork while people are working independently of each other, which is hilarious. But yeah, maybe one day I'll find a way to get some supplementary Power Reviews material like the book.
For the other Rangers or the audience.
Also, I just gotta say, this is a beautiful shot. Like, I have a lot of issues with Samurai, but that Instamorph is just a beautiful shot.
Special attacks, Mike decides to show off his spectacular new technique of...
And yeah, just getting into the practice of editing this all together and making it all clean and timing things just right for my reactions, and just lingering on a few scenes a little bit longer just to buy enough time for that moment to sink in, cutting other things quicker so that I could paste them to the audio of my voiceover. There were so many little things that I just kind of learned as I was going. I already had a bit of a video background from college, but this was me for the first time really creating things for YouTube that involved considerable editing. As opposed to just like student video projects.
Oh, right, he hasn't. So he summons his Zord and... Wait, what?
All of this stuff was just so
random
random at the time.
Is that a battleizer? What does he need inside the cockpit? Do the folding Zords have no shock absorbers?
Oh yeah,
why is he attacking
Scott
the monsters?
kind of was shocked with the ASCII B. Yeah, I miss ASCII B. ASCII B was so fun, and I wish I could get back into it. It's just not really reasonable with my current life schedule of, obviously now I'm a full-time teacher, about to be a dad, and
Seriously, The size and positioning of those
comically
things
large
are far
eyes.
more terrifying than the sight of a monster getting his arms
I love the
amputated.
freakishly large eyes.
Anyway, the Rangers use their Mega Blades to
But
summon
yeah,
their
you know,
super
things like
sparkly sword
AskDB,
attack,
I would love to
defeat the
get
monster,
back
and save the
into,
day.
but it
Yes.
doesn't work in universe anymore.
Ow! Victorious,
Okay,
the
I'm
Rangers
pretty
return
sure I
to their
didn't write that
headquarters.
in. That
Everyone
I think
takes
was
turns
an in the
congratulating
moment
Mike on
thing
a
where I
job well
just
done.
smashed.
Emily?
I literally smashed my
Who's
elbow
this?
in that
Who
cut. Oof. Ouch.
So what have we learned from all this?
Um.
We can do anything as a team. Really? Really? This is what you guys got from this?
Samurai was so weird. Samurai was such a weird show.
And that's the end of the episode.
But yeah,
So,
I'm obviously
it?
jumping around with a lot
Well,
of this
it
stuff.
obviously had its flaws, many
But
of which I've already
there were
covered
so
in
many
very
little
brief
things where
detail, but
I tried to
the
set up
biggest
later
issue can be summed up
later
in
events
one
where I
word.
could.
Decontextualization.
And I
Now,
will say
generally don't like to reference
that
Sentai
that
on
right
another
there
episode of
was
Power
a
Rangers,
big
but
thing.
I will make
That
an exception here for
decontextualization moment was a big
What?
thing. Because although
like
I
originally thought that
wasn't
RPM was going to
diligent
be
about it, I
wacky,
didn't keep
so
to it like I
I
wanted to.
decided to try watching Shin Cager.
One thing that I was
The only
planning on
that I have ever
for
watched any
a long time at the
footage of
beginning of
Power
Power
Rangers.
Reviews
I stopped
was
watching
to
about
work
halfway
the
through
word
the
context
Power Rangers
into
Super
every
Rangers.
episode as an
But
arc word.
regardless,
Because context was so important to the overall story of the show. And the really funny thing about this discussion that I'm having, you know, with the audience right now about decontextualization, about seeing something stripped of context, is when I posted this to the message boards, back when, you know, message boards were still a thing I was active on, when I posted this, somebody in the replies had commented on how, oh, it's so ridiculous that you're, you know, ripping into this show about, you know, decontextualization, about not having context for what's going on. And there you just have Dr. K out of nowhere with no explanation. You don't have any context for that. And I couldn't tell him at that time, and I wanted to, that that was part of the gag. That was part of the point. It was a meta joke that you weren't supposed to get yet. It was sort of something where, you know, I'm digging into, oh, it's so weird that there's no context for any of the things I'm seeing on screen. Well, at the same time, my audience has no context for this oddity in my life, that there's a Power Rangers character just existing there in my living room for no apparent reason. And the idea that he has this focus on the show to the exclusion of what's actually going on in his life was where I wanted my starting place to be. And for him to slowly recognize that he doesn't have context for his life. And that's one of the things that made this such a good episode to start with. Because you are just being dropped into this scenario. You don't know who this person is. You don't know who Database Ranger is. You don't know why Dr. K is there. That's a question that's left hanging. And considering the environment of, you know, the Channel Awesome reviewers of the time that I was clearly inspired by, you know, back before Channel Awesome kind of imploded on itself, that was something where I just wanted to jump into it and just treat it like this was a normal review series. Where, yeah, there's just going to be weird stuff off to the side, and that's just the way review shows are.
In case you couldn't tell before, I absolutely love seeing the return of Bulk and the original Mighty
This was,
Morphin. I found these both to be
this was sort of my way of lulling the audience into a false sense of security. Before we really dig into the story and you see, oh no, wait, this show is actually going to address those questions, and those questions are going to be important moving forward. And the question of why who this guy is and why he has a Power Ranger character in his living room would then become the driving question of the series that 90 episodes in, we still don't have the actual answer to. And we found all these other questions surrounding it. And there it was, the farewell Ranger fans, and let the power protect you. With special thanks to to Dave and Marissa, and obviously Dave and MJ. And I will now navigate away from that. And as much as I do need to, have my get my ad revenue, I don't need you guys to be watching ads within a video in that way. So there we have it. That was the first ever episode of Database Rangers Power Reviews. I hope that it was enjoyable for you guys. Let's see some more of the comments here. Yeah, seeing Nick advertising the Power Rangers Flash game back when Nick's website was actually a big deal. Yeah, that was funny. Delia's waiting to see my kids' first words being morphin time. We'll see what their first words were. My first words were, may I have this, please? I don't know why those were my first words, but apparently they were. Yeah, there were a lot of interesting little setups there that nobody knew were happening at the time. The Jungian psychology monologue that took me a while to get down, and it was tricky, and I had that laptop right in the corner off screen just sitting on that dresser. I didn't intend for it to be anything deeper than just my discovering how my character is just insanely obsessive and over-analytical. But the Jungian psychology introduction really did a good job of setting up the conflict later. Back when I first wrote the first episode, I did not know how the series was going to end. I do now, and I've known for a very long time. But when I wrote the first episode, I only knew where I wanted to go as far as the first half of the series. I knew what I wanted for, like, the 51st episode, where we finally get the, spoiler, reveal of Database Ranger's true identity. So I always knew his true identity, and I started seeding that fairly early, not quite in that first episode. But I knew that's what I was working towards. So the whole conflict with the landlord I hadn't really figured out yet in that first episode. I figured it out before I was done with Year Zero. Within the first 10 episodes, I knew what the finale of the series was going to be, and I've known for nearly 8 years now. But yeah, it's there were quite a few little clues along the way for where the show was going, and it's going to be really fun delving into these early episodes and pointing out to you guys all the little sneaky bits of foreshadowing I was doing for things that were much farther down the road. And there are even little things from this first episode that you will be seeing called back to in episodes to come, all the way into the finale. When we get to the 100th episode, when we get into the final episodes, including the 100th episode, you'll be seeing little. I don't want to give it away, but this will still be important. This episode is still important, even at the end of the series, because of what it started and what it meant for the introduction of the characters. So, last I checked, I think the episodes that were claimed before are back up. I haven't checked on them for a little while. Do I have a set date on the writer log? I do not have a set date on the writer log. I feel bad for not having a set date on the writer log. But what I can tell you does have a set date is that tomorrow we are kicking off with our Zeo live stream. That's going to be me working with Orange Ranger Videos and Second Batgirl of Toku Ladies, and Eric Berry's going to be there, and we have Shadow Ray of Morphin Legacy, and we have a bunch of other people, and I'm working to try and schedule more. A few people still need to get back to me in terms of when they'll be there. But the big thing is going to be raising funds for Fair Fight in Georgia, as well as the New Georgia Project. Fair Fight defends voting rights, and the New Georgia Project works to get people registered. So those are both very important. And I hope that you guys will be a part of that as we raise funds over the course of the next 2 days. And that will all be on Orange Ranger Video's channel, not on this channel. So keep an eye open for that. I will make sure to share the link on our social medias. But yes, that will be starting tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. On Orange Ranger Video's channels. That's 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And we'll be running through the first 25 episodes, and anything after that will require donations to keep it going. We're looking at $20 per episode of Zeo. So we're going to need to actually get past, I think our goal was $600 on the first day to move on to the next day. So we hope that you'll be a part of that, and spread the word. Keep fighting the good fight to save the world. And yeah, that'll be Eastern Time as per usual, because we're all on the East Coast, as is the state of Georgia. So thank you so much to all of you for joining all this. And I'm just taking another little look here on any other questions that you guys have. If you're looking to sign up, I can message you a sign-up sheet if you need. If you're looking to sign up. Sorry, I haven't gotten back to those of you who are wondering. Yeah, Elliot got into the series back when The Landlord was introduced, which was presented as the finale of the series, but little did we know that was really just the segue into the second half, which obviously is very different from the first half in many regards. All right, so thank you again for joining me for this. It's wonderful revisiting it and sharing these stories with you, and I have so many stories on so much of this crazy series that has taken up the last 8 years of my life, with 2 more years to go. I did not know what I was getting into. But I'm glad that you're here for this crazy ride with me. So until I think with that we can say our farewell. So until next week, farewell, Ranger fans, and let the power protect you.